Welcome back, queens and kings.
Welcome.
Yes. Hey, but it's a remix this time. It's the remix too. And oh shit.
It's the remix, baby.
Because I was definitely about to sing some problematic music. Anyway. Yeah. We switching it up this episode. We are going completely unscripted, okay? Woo! Because me and JJ, we be having podcast episodes and our normal ass conversations, but we just don't ever record them. And then after the fact, we'd be like, "Damn, we should have recorded that." So
we should have just recorded it, bro.
This time we said, "Okay, let's just hop on and do it, bro," and see what happens. So yeah, without further ado, the recap. I want to know, JJ, what you been watching lately? What you been tuning into?
Y'all know I always be watching a whole bunch of damn anime. I know, like, at one point I was watching back, like, HBO, like, originals and stuff. Like, I think I had watched Gossip Girl at one point. Like, the new version of Gossip Girl. But I don't know. Like, I always just
What'd you think of it? What'd you think of it?
I mean, I don't have a huge history with Gossip Girl as my childhood either. I didn't really, like... It seemed interesting. I'm glad like a little bit more diversity than the originals.
Yeah,
there's that.
That was honestly all they did have.
Yikes! It seemed like a lot. I don't know. It
was.
And then at first I was like, "How are these bitches always going out to drink?" And then I think like apparently they were in like the UK or something. I don't know, but they 18, 17 having drinks.
Bro, they in New York.
Oh, I didn't know that shit.
They in New York,
are they able to have drinks?
Bro, that's how I be feeling every time those TV shows be based off of high school kids' lives and they just be going to bars and shit drinking. Like I'm like,
right.
So everyone just goes to this bar that doesn't card and give alcohol to underage kids on a daily basis. Okay.
That's really interesting. That's interesting.
But what else you been watching though?
Bro, I watched Future Diary. It's an anime. It's on Crunchyroll. I'm never gonna delete my Crunchyroll subscription. Never. They got the best. And I like sub and dub, but I did do dub for this. And I know I have a whole bunch of people throwing imaginary darts at me, but I did do dub for this show because I don't know. I didn't feel like reading subtitles. I'm sorry.
Bro, like honestly, ain't nothing wrong with that. I ain't judging, bro, because don't nobody have time. It's just there's a certain level and amount of focus you have to have.
And I didn't have it then.
To watching subbed anime. Like, yeah. Bro.
And I could do it for so long. Like, I'm sad because the new season of My Hero Academia is out and it's all sub. And I'm like, I haven't even gotten a chance to watch any of the new season because I'm like, I don't mentally have the energy to read subtitles.
Again, I don't blame you. Hey, but I heard this new season of My Hero, they just throwing hands.
Bro, because the end of the 4th season, that's all, or was the 5th season? The end of the last season, that's all they were doing was throwing hands.
And I was like, finally, bro, because there was like that awkward lead up to where it was the training arc, I guess. I don't know. There was a lot of other shit going on. It was very slow. And I'm like, okay, when it's going to pick up? when it's going to pick up quick?
Damn.
Because I'm going to put it down and never pick it back up. I don't know.
But I'm watching Future Diary, and I don't know if there's going to be a season 2. I'm kind of hoping that it's going to be a season 2 because of the way it ended. I was not satisfied. I was actually really annoyed. But
what is it about?
So it's about this kid, right? He always high school students for some reason. They're always either in high school or middle school. And then I would be seeing they middle schoolers, and I'm like, are y'all sure these niggas is in middle school? Because these niggas be looking old as hell with beards. And I'm like, bro. And they be sitting there like, ha ha ha. Like, they be sitting there. They be sitting there like, I'm ready to slay everybody. Nigga, are you 13 or 18? Which one is it? So it starts with this one kid, right? He's like always, he has this physical diary. And the reason why I'm saying physical, I'll get into in a second. But he has this physical diary where he's writing down like everything that's around him. Like he's writing down observation he makes of people. He's very shy kid, secluded, typical shit, when you're getting hyped up to meet some crazy ass people later on this season. This is very slow start.
Okay.
Actually
slow burn.
Yeah, but actually not really that slow. I take that back because in the first episode, niggas is killing niggas. So
okay.
He's writing down his diary, everything that he sees, and like every time like he gets home from school, he always just kind of sits and he puts his blanket over himself and he imagines this imaginary world. And in the imaginary world, there's this God. He is basically telling him like, oh, I'm the God of like this reality that you created and shit like that. So like he's telling the God like, I just want to, I want like some of the things to happen to me in life to be exciting. Like he's basically complaining about like his life and stuff like that. So the next day he is, diddle-dallying in his diary. Then he's like on his actual phone, and on his phone it starts giving him entries as if he put the entries in, and it's giving him entries of a murder that is about to happen. And then he goes to the news and he sees the exact same murder. So he's like, I'm going crazy. Like, there's no freaking way I entered any of these entries of this murder that just happened. So he goes to school and he's like kind of losing it because then his phone diary starts like updating everything that's about to happen right before he does it. Like, oh, I'm about to walk into the class and sit down. Or, oh, somebody's about to knock their paper off the table. Or, oh, da-da-da-da-da. Because granted, remember, he writes entries, actual diary entries by himself, just observing people. But these are not entries that he wrote himself. They're just popping up on his phone. So after a while, he's like, what the hell? And then there's this girl that never says anything to him. She finally turns back and gives him this look, like a very sharp look, and it scares him because he's like, what the fuck? Like, why is she
what you looking at?
Because why are you looking at me, right?
It's a lot of weird shit going on.
A lot of weird shit, girl.
What you know?
It's a very crazy show, and it turns out like he's been given a diary, what you call a future diary, and he basically has to battle all of these other diary users in order to take over this God that was in his fake reality is actually a real reality, and he's actually the God, one of the gods of the universe.
Okay. Basically, don't spoil it too much for me because I might actually watch it.
Yeah. So it's
that sounds interesting.
It's a really good show. I enjoyed it, and I really hope you can watch it, bro, because it's only about, each episode's about 30 minutes. And I think it's less than 30 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a quick, we can binge it. Hella longer episodes than that, so it's a quick binge.
Okay.
If you wanted to binge.
That ain't no problem. I'm a pro binger over here.
Okay.
No, for real.
So what about you, bro? What show you been into?
What show I've been into? Because I've been watching hella shows at the same time.
Yeah.
House of Dragon just ended. It was a finale, so that was like the prequel to Game of Thrones.
Oh,
on HBO.
The Game of Thrones.
I got into Game of Thrones like a few years ago. And I was really fucking with it in the storyline. The way that last season ended, people already know, like the true Game of Thrones fans, we know it was trash. So when they came out with House of Dragon, which is like the prequel to Game of Thrones, so okay, to put it into perspective, so it all starts with these main kingdoms, okay? And like the hierarchy, the highest niggas at the very tip top are these pale white-haired niggas called the Targaryens. They run this shit. Because not only are they at the top, but they also control and ride dragons, like fire-breathing dragons. And it's like they can't burn from dragon fire. Like it's a lot of like mystical
This sounds
stuff. Like, there's
intense.
like a mystical element to it a little bit, not gonna lie. But so essentially, like, it's this ruling family. And of course, when you on top, there's gonna be niggas scheming.
Right. Niggas always
And
scheming.
that's exactly what happened, bro. So it, like the prequel kind of just because it began with essentially in Game of Thrones, it's after the fall of the Targaryen kingdom. So we already know shit ain't gonna last for these niggas because what happened later on in Game of Thrones. So this season of House of Dragon just gives us the opportunity to just kind of like see the story of the Targaryens and what exactly leads up to that fall that we know is coming. And so like, I mean, it is based off of the book series, but I haven't read the books, but I've heard that it is really not going by the books. And it's a good and a bad thing because like one thing about them, like I'm team Rhaenyra. Okay, she's the princess. She's a princess, and her dad is the king, but he's low key a weak ass king, and niggas realize that because his own brother always felt like he should have been the king. So there's already kind of like a level of animosity there that they've always just kind of okay, I see you, nigga. But know your place. And then the daughter, the king could not have like any other kids. Like he didn't have any other kids with his first wife, the queen. Because the queen was giving birth and then ended up dying. And that baby didn't live either.
Right.
So it had came up, this nigga gonna need an heir. Cause he was already kind of getting up there in age. And they like, okay, bro, what you gonna do if, you know, you ain't having no son? Cause it was definitely based off of patriarchal norms, okay? So at first, you know, his brother, who was already like, yeah, nigga, I know I deserve to be on the Iron Throne, was like, yeah, big bro gonna give it to me. Nah, that wasn't the case. He was definitely like, actually, I'm gonna give it to my daughter. So, and I know y'all niggas don't respect the idea of a queen running this shit.
Yeah.
But I said what I said, and I meant it. So bow down, or you gon' basically get dropped for treason. So
you gonna basically get dropped. Period.
For treason. And so essentially it just kind of follows like the storyline of their lives, bitch. And already off the bat, niggas was deceitful. She had a friend that was from another like high ruling family. Now again, Targaryens, they on the tip top,
right?
So every other nigga below them. So below them is this family called the High Towers, and the High Towers, the girl's father served as the right hand to the king. Okay. And so his daughter was the same age as the princess, Rhaenyra. So automatically they grew up together. They have a close friendship relationship. They like sisters. Low-key, I thought they was going to make them a love interest because at first they kind of hinted at romantic, but like, I don't know. They didn't explore that further. It was a lot of time jumps too later on in the season. But yeah, so then that nigga Otto, that's her daddy, the right hand, he was scheming right away, and was essentially trying to run the king. And the king, being a weak ass nigga, he fell for that shit. Because his wife had just died in childbirth. Even though he already named his daughter being the heir.
Right.
These niggas was like, nah, you're gonna have to get remarried and start having more kids.
What? Okay.
And at first, there was these other niggas, and these were like actually like niggas. Like they were the only niggas I've seen in Game of Thrones called the Valerians, and they're like distant relatives to the Targaryen family. Okay. So, and one thing about the Targaryens, the history of it is they are incest. So it was like uncles and cousins and mothers and brothers having kids together and marrying each other in their family history. Okay, that's a good thing to know. Just because.
And none of the kids had issues. Sorry. Sorry.
But then, so the Valerians, they're distant relatives to the Targaryen family because they also have white hair. The Valerian king is married to a princess who was also the Targaryen king's. Is it his sister? Cousin.
What?
Cousin. She was his cousin. Yeah.
See.
And so at first they were like, okay, bro, like, you know, we got the same blood. We come from the same family tree. So we might as well do like our ancestors. You go ahead and marry my daughter. Yeah. I know she's like 12 right now, but y'all don't have to have kids till she like 14. Yeah, it was wild as fuck. So, but the king was like, I don't know. Even though that would be the smartest choice, because not only would they be keeping essentially the bloodline pure, also the Valerian king also is in control of like a fleet of ships. So anytime there's like any threat of war or some shit, that nigga handling like he dead in that shit right away.
Right.
So it's like, bro, you will also automatically be doubled up on security.
Yeah.
But the right hand was whispering in this nigga's ear, like, yeah, I know this don't make sense, but I think it actually would be smarter for you to marry my daughter.
Okay.
And that nigga actually did it. Okay. That nigga actually did it. She was like 15 at the time. And the whole thing was, while Otto was, by the time Otto suggested to the king to marry his daughter, he had already told his daughter, like, hey, so what I'm gonna need you to do before I suggest this to the king, so you know we know he gonna be on our side, go ahead and seduce this nigga for a couple of weeks. You know his wife just died, he a little lonely, spend some time with him, so that way like he'll be more open to marrying you instead of doing some other shit, so my plan can unfold the way I planned it to. So she did, and the king ended up marrying her. She hid it from Rhaenyra, the princess, her best friend. So when it came out, Rhaenyra was like, what the fuck? Because once Rhaenyra accepted, like, okay, I'm the heir. And she started seeing how niggas started acting different around her. She was like, okay, no, I need to take this shit serious. Yeah. And then also she found out about the prophecy. So in Game of Thrones, these niggas ended up fighting these there's like the Night King and the White Walkers, which was these like weird ass creatures made out of ice and shit. I don't know.
Not made out of ice.
But there's like a war called Fired Ice, or a prophecy that was based on the War of Fired Ice, and apparently it originated from the Targaryens. So the prophecy was only known, it was like a secret that was passed down from each king, Targaryen king.
Okay.
So since the king had already believed and named Princess Rhaenyra as his heir, he told her about the prophecy, because he was like, yeah, I'm dead ass serious, so you need to know what the fuck is going on. I don't know, my daddy told me and I'm telling you at this
okay
point.
Period.
Okay, so once she, you know, got that information, she was like, okay, yeah, I'm about to start taking this shit serious. I know it's kind of weird, like you gonna have to marry my distant cousin or some shit, but I mean, honestly, it would work out. we having a real conversation right now. I think it'll work out for the best of the kingdom. So I ain't gonna be mad at it. So when they had the meeting, she thinking, okay, yeah, he finna make the announcement. No, the nigga was like, I'm actually gonna marry your friend. And then she was like, what the fuck?
Whoa.
So that already started like a rift between them, bitch. Fast forward. They become grown. Old girl, the Princess Rhaenyra, she's sexually attracted to her uncle. Came onto this nigga. This nigga didn't want to fuck her, so then she ended up fucking her knight, and that nigga caught feelings, and was like, "Hey, like we can run off together. I know I'm poor and everything, but I love you, and we can explore our love on a distant island." And she was looking at him like, "Nigga, I'm a fucking queen to be. Why the fuck would I run off to be with you?"
She ain't shit for that though.
But afterwards, she was like, "But in the meantime, we could still fuck though." And then he was like, "So you want me to be a whore?" And she looked at him like, "Nigga, that's what I said." So
That's what I said.
That's what I said.
I said what I said.
Anyways, but that nigga wasn't trying to hear that. So, fast forward, it was another time jump. There was a rumor that had came out that her and her uncle was intimate. And so niggas was like, what the fuck? That's crazy. Her dad was already pissed because he was like, nigga, like, you just want to take the throne away from me, so that's why you made a pass at my daughter and shit. And then her friend, who again went behind her back and was scheming and seduce and scheme on the king, and is now the queen because she's married to him and was popping out babies. She was upset because she was like, why didn't you tell me? Because when she asked her about it, she was like, hey, bro, I heard you was fucking on your uncle. Is that true? And a girl was like, nah, why the fuck would you believe that? Like, girl, the notion that you would even approach me with this, that's treason.
I'm screaming.
And so, girl was like, okay, no, you're right. Like, that is actually very wild. And she was like, so who you gonna believe? Some niggas that you don't even know talking shit about your girl? Or you gonna believe me, your best friend, in front of the fucking sacred tree? And so a girl was like, you right, I'm tripping. I got you.
And she was tripping.
But then it came out later on, like she found out that she was lying, and so a girl felt like she was betrayed because a girl didn't tell her the truth. But in actuality, I feel like in hindsight, when they got older, because this girl held this grudge for 10 years. I felt like in hindsight, she really was upset because Princess Rhaenyra really got to do whatever the fuck she wanted with no consequences. Because in that 10-year span, she was married off to one of the Valerian princes, who, again, was a nigga.
Yeah.
With white hair. And she also has white hair. That's like the telltale sign of a Targaryen. All their kids was coming out with dark hair and they was white as fuck. So everyone was like, they bastards. So they bastards. So
this is intense. Damn, I'm not watching the show because I got.
Bro, that's why I'm explaining it to you because I know you wouldn't watch it.
I'm not. Yeah, as soon as you start saying niggas was having sex with uncles and cousins, I was like, how we get here? And is this how the Game of Thrones is? Do they be having the same thing? They be having sex with uncles and cousins?
Well, it was actually a brother and sister that was fucking with each other in Game of Thrones. So, yeah, incest is definitely a common theme here. But, yeah, bro, after that, sis held that grudge for like 10 years, kept throwing up in her face any chance she got. She like, I know them kids not your husbands. They got dark hair.
Yeah, that's true.
They look true. Like yo knight, actually.
That's Mr. very strong. True.
Meanwhile, she popping out some other kids, and so everyone's like, even though the king never denounced that Princess Rhaenyra was his heir, and was in in tow to replace him on the throne. She did end up having a son, and so everyone was like, okay, well, clearly now that you got a son, he gonna be the king, he the heir, the rightful heir. And the king was like, no, it's still Rhaenyra, so
Okay.
I don't know.
So
So
did
in
you
that time, John, what?
did you like Rhaenyra? Because I don't know, like from her, all I'm hearing, she seemed like a controversial figure. Very much.
I mean, I liked her versus most of the other female characters. The only other character that I would have liked more, they killed her off in the same episode they introduced her in. I was but anyway, so yeah, essentially bitches was mad because girl got to do whatever the fuck she wanted and got to be a hoe while she was taking rotten dick from the king, because that nigga literally was like dying from the inside out. Like he had open lesions and shit. It was really nasty. And didn't have control of her life because also her dad was controlling her every move and shit because he really wanted power. So that caused a drift between them. Everything escalated. The kids started, tussling with one another. Which even though, and I will say this, every single one of her kids that she had are bitches.
Oh Lord.
Because Aegon, the one that everyone's talking about, he's the rightful king. That nigga's like a psychopath rapist. Like he raped all of the servant girls, and she, every time it was brought to her attention, she would give the girls like this tea, which basically gave them an abortion and paid them to stay quiet.
What?
Her other son is a bitch ass nigga. He stole the dragon after the funeral of the mother of the two kids who that dragon was supposed to go to. And the dragon was like the largest dragon in the land, like the entire universe in their minds. So he stole that dragon in the middle of the night after the funeral. Once they found that out, they woke their cousins up like, hey, someone stole my mama's dragon. That bitch barely just got in the fucking dirt. Let's get up. We finna fight. We finna scrap. So and them niggas was about it. They was okay, cool. So they got up and found that nigga. They was tussling. He picked up a rock like he was about to bust somebody's head. So one of the kids got a knife and took his eye out. And so when that happened, the queen was like, yo, bastard ass sons took an eye, so I want one of your kids' eyes. And Rhaenyra was like, looking at the king like, Dad, get your bitch. And the king was like, I mean, I don't know. Because again, that girl did no wrong in her daddy's eyes. That nigga was always, and people are like, bro, like those aren't even true Targaryen kids. And he was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'll get your head right now for saying that shit. Nigga.
That's what the
and she was over there like, I want to get one of her kids' eyes. So she got the knife and she ended up stabbing Princess Rhaenyra. And in my head, I was sitting here like, okay, that bitch deserved to die. I don't care if she the queen.
Yeah.
She attacked the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
Because again, that nigga never said he was gonna give it to that other little nasty ass boy.
So this queen that stabbed her, that they used to be best friends, right? Look at how far we fallen,
bro.
Damn,
bro, and that shit just got worse and worse and worse. And that bitch really showed her ass by the end. I'm gonna keep tuning in though. Like, I know you like, bro, this sounds crazy as fuck, but like I just like seeing it unfold because I'm like, bro, you really would think it would be about more than just really this girl. Her friend was really mad because this girl got to be a hoe and she couldn't. Like, that's really what it comes down to, bro. Because I'm like, if you want to sit here and talk about betrayal, girl, you was seducing her daddy at 15 years old, right after her mama died from giving birth to her little brother, who also died in the process. But you expected forgiveness. So why are we Like, why are we holding on to this?
Because to be honest, if that was really me for real, I would have been like, it's on site every time I see you, no matter
bro.
what.
And I'm like, in the next season, I really do hope, like, the way that the season ended, I think, girl, like, Princess Rhaenyra finally gonna come to her senses and unleash the wrath on these niggas, because honestly, that's what they deserve. Because after everything that happened, like, the king ended up dying, these niggas, like, moved into the castle, took that shit over. They talking about true Targaryen ruler and all this shit, and yet everything in the fucking castle is high towered green and shit. This girl wore green, and the Targaryen colors is red and black, but the whole family wearing green.
So what's really going on?
I'm like,
this is intense.
Be fucking for real. BFFR. Bitch.
Like, I'm not gonna watch it, but I'll definitely tune in for you to continue giving me reviews like this, because I was definitely paying attention.
Like, bro, I'm like, bro, I might make a YouTube and just start retelling and summarizing shows and movies.
Bro,
because you really seemed invested.
I was really invested.
Yeah,
I was really invested. All I know is, at the end of the day, Game of Thrones sound like a lot, but I mean, I think we would all be here for a YouTube channel dedicated to you doing reviews, Brie. So, because I would be looking, and I would guest star as the live audience reaction every time.
Bro, like, honestly, I'm like, bro, this, hey, TQC, YouTube, we gonna do it.
No, because I actually really love hearing, and maybe that's another thing. For some reason, sometimes, this might sound weird, sometimes I like hearing people review movies more than the actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I be liking that too.
Right
I be liking whenever like there are breakdowns, like people would make breakdowns of certain TV shows and movies. Kind of essential like what I did, but I feel like I make it a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah, because you talk like you like realize this is how you talking. Like, you ain't talking like you're one of these like movie critics.
Yeah, because they be over there trying to be like be politically correct and shit.
Like,
nah, it's about betrayal. I'm like, nah, bro. Sis is really mad because she didn't get to have a hoe phase, and she looking at her friend like that one SpongeBob meme. Whenever Squidward looking outside at SpongeBob and Patrick running out, that's how sis felt. That's how she felt for 10 fucking years, bro.
And this is the
and I made her want to stab somebody. I'm like, bro, it's really not that serious.
This is a reaction. Like, this is the review we looking for. Bro, because I listened to this one lady. Her name is Stephanie Sue. Oh, I love her, bro. I love all of her mukbangs, her freaking reviews. But she also has a separate channel called, I think, Miss Mango Butt. And then she has multiple. That girl making bank. She has multiple podcasts, and one of them is Midnight Mango. And she was reviewing this movie called The Black Phone. Have you ever heard of it? Mm-mm. It's The Black Phone, and one of the stars in there is Ethan Hawke, I believe. So the cool thing about The Black Phone, this is going to definitely be a spoiler alert if y'all ain't never seen a movie, but the cool thing about The Black Phone, like the director and I think writer, is Stephen King's son.
Okay.
Yes, the freaking Honorable Stephen King.
Is it really good?
It's really good, bro. Okay. It's like really good.
Black Phone, okay.
And it's crazy because I'm not a whole bunch into horror, but I'll sit down and listen to some horror, watch a horror movie, and it's about this boy who, like, it's back in like a true Stephen King family fashion. It's like back in the day, and it's about this boy who he's living in these times where it's like mass scare because there's this person called the Grabber who grabs children, specifically young boys.
Like when they outside playing and shit, or like out they bed, like a boogie bed.
That nigga, like when they outside, he'll come up with a black van, or is it a white van, and black balloons. It's a van, and then
why the balloons? That just sounds like a lot.
It's creepy, bro. It like I'm telling you, the balloons creep you out. Like
the balloons be inside the van.
Yeah, it like so. Okay. So the van will come up. Let's say one of like a boy like riding down the bike. The van will come up and it'll look like, I guess, like the man needs help or something. And then as soon as like the person is trying, like the boy's trying to help or bend over, he snatches them in there. And he puts like a specific covering over their face. I think it's a chemical that knocks people out. And once he kidnaps them, he gets a bundle of black balloons and leaves it at the place. And it's essentially signifying this person is about to be dead. Like, this is the black balloons. This is a funeral. And it's so creepy because the main character and his sister, and I would say there's a few main characters actually, they both have like a family history of different type of abilities, but their dad wants them to not, I guess, entertain these abilities because it's what kind of made their mom go a little insane. So he beats them into submission a lot. Like, he's very abusive to them. But it's crazy because...
But they have powers.
Right. Like, they have like some type of psychic powers to the other realm, like to the spiritual realm. And it's crazy because, bro, you have different emotions for the dad though, bro. Because you're like, bro, why are you beating your kids? And then you'll see different sides of him where he's like this drunk and he's depressed because he doesn't want his kids to end up dying. So he like thinks is the only way is to like scare them into not using their powers because that like he doesn't want to lose them. But it's like, nigga, that's not how you do that. And so eventually the main boy, so it's all of his friends that end up getting like kidnapped, right?
Like, one by one.
Yeah, and some of them might not be his friends. He might just know them. And so him and his sister are walking, and like the thing about it is his sister, so they have two different powers. His sister sees dreams and of the people who die, and then he gets visited by the dead people. Yeah, it gets crazy.
So then after that happened, like was there ever a moment to where the sister had a dream and then the person died and that person died and they visited the brother, and so then him and his sister linked up and kind of compared notes or some shit?
Well,
or was she trying to tell him beforehand so they could try to stop it or some shit?
So one of those is kind of like, in theory, they did have to technically work together because the nigga, the damn brother ended up getting kidnapped. He was about to, because he saw the...
Did she dream about it?
Bro, she has to work with her dreams to find out where this nigga is getting kidnapped. But as she's working with her dreams to find out, he's getting visited by all the dead boys to try to help him escape. Like, they're talking to him. They're like, we tried this. This didn't work for us. Maybe it'll work for you. But it gets crazy. But the scary part is the boys, when they visit him, they visit them in their dead forms. So they visit them in like, so let's say I got ran over by a car and I visit you, but I'm how I look after I got ran over by the car. It looks very gory.
Like, were they all murdered different ways?
Yes.
Oh, damn.
They were all murdered different ways. And
so it's like gory?
It's a little gory, but it's not, I don't think you'll get scared, bro, because it's not, there's a few jump scares, but not too bad. And it's crazy because everybody knows the different details, right? Everybody knows, like, oh, the killer leave black balloons. So imagine this little boy, the main character. I think his name is Finney. Yeah, Finney. And then there's his sister's name. I forgot what her name is. He like is trying to help this man in the van, and then he looked in the van and he said, "Wait, are those black balloons?" And immediately the guy covers his mouth. And I know, like, he's trying to fight him. He's like, "Damn, no, I am not trying to die." Like, and it doesn't work. So they call his sister, was like, "Hey, we haven't seen your brother." And immediately she's like, "Oh, fuck." Because she always ends up going to her friend's house on like a specific day and spends the night or like or stays there for a while. And so they always walk separately. But what kind of makes me mad, I'm like, why were y'all walking separately knowing that there was a freaking person on the loose grabbing niggas?
Bro, because I'm like, at this point, how many kids have died?
A lot. It was 5.
And niggas is like, damn, another one went missing. Another one was found dead. All right, I'm about to go for this walk, though.
Right. And meanwhile, the sister, like the police, I guess, are thinking that the sister knows something about all of these deaths because there was an incident a couple years ago where she was trying to explain, like you were saying, she was trying to explain, I think this boy's going to go missing, and nobody believed her. So now the police is like, we need to get the sister in to see what the hell she knows. But the dad is like, don't say shit, because if y'all get taken away from me, like, we're all screwed. So it's like so many forces working against them. But once her brother go missing, she's like, I don't really care what you say, Dad. So she goes up to him, afraid that he's gonna beat her, because he be beating her ass specifically, because she has the exact. What's really similar between her and her mom is her mom also had dreams. Like, Finney is similar because he has some type of connection to the spiritual world, but she specifically has dreams like her mom did. So her dad beats her ass the most. And he's like, and she's telling him, she's like, Dad, and he's like in one of his drunk moods, and he's like, he's like, yeah, and she's like, I have a question about my dreams, or I need to tell you about my dreams. And he immediately stiffens up, like, I'm about to beat this shit out this girl. She told me she had another dream. And she's like, I need you to hear me out. Finn is missing. I think my dreams can help. And you just see him visibly just like lose everything. He's just like, he doesn't beat her. He's like, all right. And so the next scene, you see them going house by house to see if she can find, because in one of her dreams, it came to her that he was in a type of house.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see the next scene, they're going house by house to see if it's the house in her dreams. But meanwhile, they can't really tell much to the police, because police ain't gonna believe that shit. They never believe supernatural shit. Look what happened to the kids in Stranger Things. They never believed them. So, they don't believe that stuff.
Hey, except Joyce. Shit.
Except Joyce said, I'm gonna go to my grave believing everything these kids tell me. And I respect her for that. So they're going, and as they're going with all these police officers, there's another round of police officers doing their own separate investigation. And so, yeah, and as everybody's going house to house, there's a separate police team that's going house to house as well. And during one of the houses to houses that the separate police team went to, they find this guy, weird guy, like this guy who like reaches out to them and is like coked out, and he has these red lines everywhere. Like, I think that these are where I think that the boys might be, like a person who takes true crime too seriously and tries to.
Yeah. He's trying to solve the case and shit.
Right. This guy's gonna come in to play. The crazy part about it is, if they would have just heard the guy out and maybe even swept his house, they probably would have been able to save a lot of searching.
Okay.
That guy was not the killer. But
he knew who it was?
Even though he didn't know who it was. He knew who it was, but he didn't know who it was.
What?
So it ended up being this nigga brother. Hear me out.
So where was his brother this whole time?
His brother was the one kidnapping niggas. And in one of the scenes, you see Finn talking to his kidnapper, because the guy wears this crazy freaky mask. Like, it looks freaking, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a really creepy mask.
Damn. So you mean to tell me, like, the brother that was trying to solve the case, whole time the actual kidnapper and murderer of these kids was looking at his brother put together the case like, damn, that's crazy, nigga. You way off.
Yeah.
He probably like, let me throw this nigga a hint. Just cause.
Yeah. Just cause.
That's crazy.
And that's funny that you said that, because one of the things his brother was getting confused about was, why are all the kidnappings around my house? Like, around our neighborhood. That's really weird. I don't know. I don't know why he didn't just, because the nigga would keep the kids in their basement.
And how the brother not ever,
as if it was a soundproof basement or something.
Like,
but you get a glimpse kind of into their childhood. What I think happened is, like, maybe they were raised and their dad abused them and locked them in that basement, because every time the other brother would walk past the basement, he would get scared of the basement. Like, he didn't even want to go near it. So that's a great place to hide the kids, because this nigga has trauma. He not going to come down here.
That's fucking crazy.
And this nigga also had a freaking vicious ass dog, which context clues, bro, because when the police first arrived to that house to hear about the crazy brothers' ideas, there was a really crazy barking dog. And that same dog had took parts in killing some of the kids for like a vicious attack. Like that's anyway, so go back to the sister. As she's looking into these different dreams, she's like, okay, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. They go to one of the houses and like they basically end up meeting a dead end. They're like, bro, this house has nothing to do with Finn. Like, what the heck? So we go back to her brother who's kidnapped. Every time he hears like there's like a little phone that's disconnected in the basement and it rings sometimes. And so Finney is like, oh snap, like I'm about to get help. And the kidnapper's like, don't even bother. That phone never rings. I used to be down here sometimes and it would ring and scare the hell out of me too.
Nigga, fuck you.
Yeah, he was like, back when I was a kid, I was down here. So I think that their dad may have like traumatized them, did things to them, and then kept them down there as punishment. Because even when like the kidnapper's kidnapping people, he'll say stuff to them like, don't be a naughty boy or you'll get punished. Like he wants you to play this naughty boy game, and then he ends up killing you anyways. And one of the boys, he ended up accidentally calling him Johnny, I guess as if that's maybe his name, and he was reliving like a traumatic event. And so Finney's like, man, this phone is disconnected, ain't gonna ring. So the phone's ringing here and there, and he's like, why does this phone just ring all the time? It's creepy. It's creeping me out. So one of the times he just is like, fuck it, like I'm gonna pick it up. Picks it up, and like you hear a distant Finn, and
It's his sister?
it's boy number one who died. And he's like,
Niggas calling from the dead?
yeah. And he's like, who is this? And he's like, I don't remember my name. And each boy that calls him on the phone tells him that they don't really remember who they are. They just
How you know me then?
So Finney get mad after a while because he's like, okay, well, who are you? And then, so each of the boys are telling him what they did to escape. So they try to make him do the same things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So each time it fails, it fails. And one of the times, you know, he got in trouble with the kidnapper because I think like the kidnapper tried to notice that he probably tried to escape, and he like punched the shit out of him or whatever. And so he's like, bro, should I keep answering these calls? They're gonna get me killed quicker. So the last call he answers is this guy, I think named Vance. No, that's the second to last call. And the guy is basically like, this is gonna be the worst day of your life or whatever, blase, blase. But it connects because as Vance is talking to him through the phone, his sister's having a dream about Vance, and she's watching him get pulled away in a car. So the sister's dreaming about Vance as Vance is talking to Finney through the phone. And he's like, this is going to be the worst day of your life. Right here, right now, you're going to die. But as Vance is saying right here to Finney, Finney's only hearing him say right here, like, damn, Finney's like, I'm about to die. But his sister is seeing that Vance is pointing to a house, and he's like, right here. As if Vance is trying to tell his sister, this is the house. Come get this nigga. Like, come help him out. Bro, like, it just gives you goosebumps. And so he's like, okay. So the whole time, Finney is trying to redo the ways they try to escape. He leaves each failed attempt there. And at the very last, and this one was so sad because the very last call he did, it was his actual friend. Because the rest of them, they were kind of his friends, but not really. He just kind of knew of them. And one of them, they weren't really his friends at all. And it was his actual friend. And he was like, I didn't get a chance to kill this MFer for killing all of us, but you're going to do it. Remember what I told you last time? You got to stick up for yourself eventually. So we're going to kill him together. And you take a look at the room, and each failed attempt made kind of like a little puzzle, like an escape room to make the final escape. So Finney, so his friend was teaching him how to like, because he, while he's on the phone with him, he actually sees them too as well. So his friend is teaching him how to like throw hands and stuff, and he's like, when this nigga come down here, my nigga, you gonna fuck this nigga up, period. He gonna fall into all these traps we helped create. and so the kidnapper finally came down there, and as the kidnapper's finally coming down there, old girl finally knows where the house is because Vance is saying right here, while he's talking to Finney. but also talking to old girl. So she's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I know where the house is. So she's like, let's get in the car. We gonna find this nigga house. So they driving, get into the house, get into the house, get into the house. And it's like this whole lead up of like, bro, because the kidnapper is like, this is the last day anyway. Because Vance meant this is gonna be the worst of your life in two different ways. Like, Finney, if you don't get out of here, this is going to be the day you die. And also, he was saying this is gonna be the worst day of your life to the kidnapper. Cause you about to die if this shit work. So he meant it two ways. So the kidnapper come down, whatever, and the kidnapper has this dog, the dog that kind of helps aids in some of the killings.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, you were being a naughty boy, and I want to take my time with you. I want to kill you slowly, blah blah blah. I'm just talking big shit, you know what I'm saying? And so
You all this and ever this.
the dog is right here on the leash, and then it's like if as soon as he give him the go ahead, he gonna tear Finn apart. He gonna eat him. So Finn, with all of the traps that was made, was successful in making the kidnapper fall into this hole. It was like this whole contraption he made. It was giving Home Alone. You know, when he made that whole long contraption, it was this
Mm-hmm.
whole contraption he made with all of the last dead boys, all the dead boys spelled attempts. And then this nigga said, then this nigga started punching him, like punching the shit out of him. And then he strangled him to death and said, you ain't gonna kill nobody ever again. And then you see all the boys like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they like, and we gonna meet you, nigga, in hell.
And so Finney puts the phone that is not supposed to be connected, up to the boy, up to the man, that the kidnapper, and you hear all the boys saying, yeah, nigga, like, yeah, you dead. This gonna be the worst day of your life. All of them that was saying crazy stuff, like when they first got on the phone with Finn, they were saying it directly to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad because one of the boys, like, he didn't remember much who he was, but he remembered playing Finn in one of the baseballs, and one of the baseball games, remember Finn almost beat him because he had like a strong arm. And he said that in one of the last posts, like, I knew you would get him. You have a strong arm. Like, that was the only thing he could remember. And so they get this nigga, but Finn has one other problem. If this dog gets let loose, or if Finn tries to go up the stairs, the dog's gonna attack him. So he's like, bro, somebody need to come down here and find me. So the girl finally gets to the house, or what we think is the house. It ends up not being the house Finn is in.
Then where the fuck she go?
To the house where the man buried all the bodies. And then you see her like screaming because she's like, bro, it's too late. My brother's dead. And then you see Phil walking down the house exactly next to it. He coming out real happy, like, praise God.
Who owned this second home? These niggas own two houses?
Yep. They own two houses.
And he killed his brother. House.
He killed his brother, by the way. Like, his brother tried to come down there. He was about to save him before everything, and then the kidnapper was like, "Damn, now you're gonna make me kill my brother." And he hacked his head off with an axe. So
that there was a like no one lived. There was an empty house.
Yeah, it was
right next door where he was dumping all the bodies. Who was investigating this?
Not good policemen.
Because my thing is, if you already knew it's the same neighborhood area where these kids are going missing and coming up murdered, would you not start with every single home in said neighborhood? And shouldn't it not come up that one of these homes happened to be empty?
Right. The black phone, everybody.
Bro, I was looking stressed the whole time because I was just like, bro, yeah, I probably wouldn't have watched a movie like that just because.
Yeah.
Just because, bro, I be getting pissed off when I watch movies and they be frustrating me because I'm like, bro.
There were so many plot holes because I was like,
this is a lot. Like, you doing a lot.
I was like, y'all didn't say that the basement was soundproof. So how did the boy, even if the nigga had trauma going down in the basement, or how come the police didn't do a search of his house? The brother who was
like,
really into...
it just sounded like everyone was blind and running in circles and didn't know what to do. And no one had a plan. No one knew what to do.
I think the good thing about it was a typical, like, it wasn't one of those things. You know how, like, good endings end with, or like happy endings end with like the killer doing something stupid and not like obviously letting the person go or just something dumb. It was like a lead up build up of him making the whole entire basement essentially into an escape room.
Okay.
With all the dead boys like failed attempts of escaping. That's what I thought was cool. Like because you at first you wouldn't know because you're like, why is this nigga? Because at first you're like, why does he keep putting up these ways that he's trying to escape? Ain't this nigga? That's another thing. I was like, why is the kidnapper not noticing all these ways he's trying to escape?
Girl, everyone was like, I'm looking past all of this.
Yes.
Like,
it was like, watch this. And niggas watched it. So, and that was it. But I'm glad that she was able to find, because people were saying that the sister, I don't really like that. People were saying the sister really didn't do much. And I was like, yeah, because essentially Finney saved himself. But at least she was led to where the dead bodies were to give like other parents peace.
Okay, I have one
wasn't led to where
important
her
question.
house was. What's the
I'm
question?
sorry.
I would say I'm kind of mad that she wasn't actually led to where his actual house was and just the dead bodies. But hey, I guess we had to figure out where he stored the dead bodies too. So I don't know.
I'm just left with one important question. So, did their dad ever get his ass beat?
He just hugged them both. It was like,
Bro, what the fuck?
it was like,
Bro, hey, bro, we starting the YouTube page. We gonna start doing the movie and TV breakdowns because
no, we are, bro.
Bro, we can't wait here saying, yeah, we gonna be unscripted. We gonna have a little conversation, bro. We was explaining all the movies and shit we watched lately, and that's okay.
Bro,
Bitches was definitely invested.
Bitches was invested, and I will say one thing that I did. What I kept saying about the movie was that people are wanting a prequel to the kidnapper's life. Like, what made him into this? I don't.
I hope it's not as dumb. Because, bro, what? This just sounds like niggas was trying not to solve the puzzle.
Y'all let us know in likes, comments, and subscriptions and all types of stuff how many more reviews y'all want us to do.
Hey, send us some suggestions, too.
Send us some suggestions. We'll hit them hoes. I ain't lying.
Okay.